The dishes won't clean themselves, Emma, my sister Amanda sneered, dropping a stack of dirty plates into my arms. Her designer dress sparkled under the chandelier lights, a stark contrast to the plain black uniform they'd forced me to wear. And try not to break anything. These plates cost more than you make in a month. I bit my tongue, just like I always did. If only they knew that my monthly dividend payments could buy their entire mansion 10 times over. But tonight wasn't about revenge. It was about watching them dig their own graves. The annual family gala was in full swing. 300 guests filled the ballroom of the Sterling Hotel, all here to celebrate my father's company's 30th anniversary. The same company my husband had secretly acquired last week. Not that they knew that part yet. Emma, my mother's sharp voice cut through the crowd. Stop standing around. The Wolfgang brothers are waiting for their drinks. She gestured to the group of investors my father had been courting for months. The same investors who now answered to my husband. I moved through the crowd, balancing the plates while dodging elbows and judgmental stares. 10 years ago, this would have broken me, being treated like a servant by my own family, watching them parade my sister around while pretending I didn't exist. But that was before I met Alexander. Did you hear? A guest whispered as I passed. Sterling Industries is being acquired by Phoenix Global. James Sterling didn't even see it coming. I smiled to myself. No, Dad certainly hadn't seen it coming. He was too busy trying to marry Amanda off to one of the Wolfgang brothers to notice his company slipping through his fingers. Emma, Amanda's voice again, sharp and demanding. Where are those drinks? God, you can't even handle simple tasks. She turned to her friend, rolling her eyes. She's always been the useless one. Thank goodness Daddy has me to take over the company. If only she knew she was talking about a company that no longer belonged to our father. I checked my watch. 8:45 p.m. 15 minutes until Alexander's arrival. 15 minutes until their perfect world shattered. I thought back to how this all started, 5 years ago, when they kicked me out for refusing to marry the man they'd chosen. Some aging businessman who would have strengthened family ties. They'd cut me off, blocked my accounts, even told our relatives I was dead. But they didn't know I'd already met Alexander at a coffee shop months before. Didn't know that while they were planning my arranged marriage, I was falling in love with one of the most powerful men in the business world. A man who saw me, not my family name. The help shouldn't wear perfume, my mother hissed as I passed her with another tray. It's inappropriate. She wrinkled her nose at my favorite Channel scent, a gift from Alexander. And fix your hair, you look like you just rolled out of bed. I touched my carefully styled updo, worth more than her entire outfit. Sorry, Mother, I murmured, playing my part, just a little longer. The ballroom buzzed with excitement. News of Phoenix Global's takeover had spread, though no one knew the identity of the CEO. Alexander had always valued privacy, letting others run the public side while he worked behind the scenes. James, one of the Wolfgang brothers, called out to my father. Is it true? Has Phoenix really bought you out? Dad forced a laugh, but I saw the tension in his shoulders. Just rumors, Marcus. Sterling Industries is stronger than ever. In fact, once Amanda marries your son. I wouldn't count on that wedding, I whispered to myself, stacking more plates. Amanda sauntered over, champagne glass in hand. Daddy's right. By this time next month, I'll be Mrs. Wolfgang, and our families will be unstoppable. She smirked at me. Unlike some people who couldn't even manage to secure a proper marriage. I checked my watch again. 8:55 p.m. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Alexander. Ready, my love? I typed back quickly, ready. The next 5 minutes crawled by. I continued my act, busying tables, ignoring snide comments, watching my family bask in their imagined glory. Then, at exactly 9 p.m., the ballroom doors opened. The buzz of conversation died. Heads turned. 6 men in black suits entered first, forming a path. Then Alexander walked in, commanding the room with his mere presence. At 6'2", with dark hair and piercing green eyes, he was impossible to miss. But it was the power he radiated that made people step back. Oh my God, someone whispered. That's Alexander Phoenix. I watched my father's face drain of color. He'd met Alexander once at a business conference but never knew his full identity. Amanda's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. That's the billionaire who bought our company, Dad stammered. Alexander's eyes found mine across the room. A small smile played on his lips as he walked straight toward me, ignoring the whispers, ignoring my family's shocked stares. "There you are, darling," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He took the tray from my hands, handed it to a nearby waiter, and pulled me into a kiss. The silence was deafening. "What? What is happening?" Amanda's voice cracked. I turned to face my family, staying in Alexander's embrace. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I forget to mention? This is my husband, Alexander Phoenix. You know, the one who just bought your company." Mother grabbed a chair for support. "Husband? But, but you're supposed to be." "Supposed to be what, Mother? Poor? Alone? Dead, like you told everyone?" I felt Alexander's arm tighten around me protectively. Surprise. Dad stepped forward, his business smile plastered on. "Now, Emma, sweetheart, surely we can discuss this like family." "Family?" Alexander's voice was cold. "The same family that kicked her out? That treated her like a servant tonight? There must be some misunderstanding." Dad tried again. "Emma knows we only wanted what was best for her." "What was best for me?" I laughed. "You wanted me to marry a man 3 times my age because he offered to invest in your company. Well, guess what? The company isn't yours anymore." Amanda lunged forward, her face red. "You planned this, you vindictive little—" "Careful," Alexander cut in, his voice like steel. "That's my wife you're talking to. The same wife who, by the way, now owns 50% of Phoenix Global, making her your boss." The Wolfgang brothers had backed away, watching the scene unfold. Marcus pulled his son aside, whispering frantically. There would be no wedding alliance now. "Security," Alexander called, and his men stepped forward. "Please escort the Sterling family out. They're not authorized to be here anymore." "You can't do this," Mother shrieked. "This is our event." "Not anymore," I said quietly. "The hotel belongs to Phoenix Global now. Just like the company, just like all your assets." As security moved to escort them out, I stepped closer to my sister. "By the way, Amanda, these plates." I picked up one of the fine china dishes she'd been bragging about. "They're knockoffs, just like you." The crowd parted as my family was led out, their protests echoing through the ballroom. Years of abuse, manipulation, and cruelty, all crumbling in a single moment. Alexander turned to address the remaining guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, my wife and I would like to thank you for attending. However, this event is now over. Please enjoy the rest of your evening elsewhere." As the ballroom emptied, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. Alexander pulled me close, kissing my forehead. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. I looked up at him, at the man who had shown me what real love and support meant. "I've never been better." But this was just the beginning. Tomorrow, they would discover their credit cards frozen, their accounts emptied, their properties seized, everything they used to control others gone in an instant. "Let's go home," Alexander said, leading me toward the door. I glanced back at the ballroom one last time. The shattered champagne glass still lay on the floor, a fitting metaphor for my family's shattered illusions. "Yes," I smiled. "Let's go home." As we walked out, I heard my phone buzzing with frantic messages from family members. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to answer. They had chosen their path. Now they would have to live with the consequences. The aftermath was more spectacular than I'd imagined. By morning, social media was ablaze with the story. Sterling family scandal. Disowned daughter returns as Phoenix Global CEO's wife. The headlines were everywhere, each more dramatic than the last. I sat in our penthouse office, watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens while Alexander made calls beside me. My phone hadn't stopped ringing since last night. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all suddenly remembering my existence now that I had power. "Emma, please," my mother's latest voicemail played through the speaker. "We're your family. They've frozen all our accounts. Your father can't even access his office. Amanda's wedding is in ruins. You have to fix this." Alexander paused his call, raising an eyebrow at me. I shook my head and deleted the message. "Have you seen this?" I turned my laptop toward him. Amanda had posted a lengthy Facebook status, playing victim as usual. "My own sister's vindictive actions have destroyed our family. After everything we did for her, this is how she repays us? By stealing our company and ruining my wedding? The truth will come out." "Should we respond?" Alexander asked, his hand covering mine. "No need. I smiled, clicking refresh. Look. Comments were flooding in, but not the supportive ones Amanda expected. Didn't you tell everyone your sister was dead? I remember how you treated her in college. Karma's real. You made her serve drinks at your own family event. Disgusting. The Wolfgang family had already released a statement distancing themselves from the Sterlings. Amanda's fiancé publicly called off the wedding, citing disturbing revelations about the family's character. My father tried damage control, calling an emergency board meeting. But when he arrived at Sterling Industries, now Phoenix Global Holdings, his access card was denied. Sir, this is a restricted area, the security guard had said, not recognizing the former CEO. The video was already trending. Your sister's at the gate. Our head of security informed me through the intercom. Should we let her up? I checked the security feed. Amanda stood in the lobby, her designer outfit replaced by casual clothes, her face free of makeup. She looked different. Let her up, I decided. But scan her for recording devices. Alexander squeezed my hand. Want me to stay? No, I need to do this alone. Minutes later, Amanda walked into my office. Her eyes widened at the view, the expensive furniture, the clear symbols of wealth she'd always chased. Nice office, she said, trying to sound casual. Bigger than Dad's. What do you want, Amanda? She sat down uninvited, fidgeting with her purse. Look about last night, and well, everything. I know we've had our differences. Differences. I laughed. You told people I was dead. I was angry. You'd run away, embarrass the family. I fell in love. But you wouldn't know about that, would you? All your relationships have been business transactions. She flinched. That's not fair. Marcus and I. Marcus, who called off your wedding the moment our family lost power. I pulled up his public statement on my screen. Want to read it? Tears filled her eyes. Real ones this time, not the calculated drop she usually deployed. They're all abandoning us. Dad's business partners, our so-called friends. Even our country club membership was revoked. Funny how quickly people show their true colors when money's involved. Mom's a mess, she continued. Dad's talking about selling the house. We can't access any accounts, our cards are declined everywhere. She looked up at me. Was this your plan all along? To destroy us? I stood up, walking to the window. The city stretched out below, a concrete jungle where I'd once felt so lost. No, Amanda. The plan was to show you exactly how it feels to have nothing, to be nothing in the eyes of your own family. We never. You made me serve drinks. At my own family's event, you watched Mom and Dad treat me like dirt, and you laughed. I'm sorry, she burst out. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. We were wrong. Please just help us. I turned back to her. Why should I? Because we're family, she whispered. Family? I pressed a button on my desk, and audio filled the room. Her voice from years ago. Emma's dead to us. She chose to leave, now she can stay gone. Amanda's face crumpled. I was wrong. I see that now. Please, Emma, I'm your sister. For a moment, I saw the little girl she used to be, before money and status poisoned her mind, before our parents turned her into their perfect hair. You want your life back? I asked quietly. She nodded eagerly. Then earn it. Not through Dad's connections or Mom's social climbing. Not through marriage or manipulation. Get a real job. Live in a normal apartment. Learn what it's like to actually work for something. But how? I handed her a card. There's a position open at one of our smaller companies. Entry level, no special treatment. If you last 6 months, we'll talk about unfreezing some accounts. She stared at the card like it was written in ancient Greek. Entry level. But I'm a Sterling. No, I corrected her. You're just Amanda now. The Sterling name doesn't mean anything anymore. Take the job or leave it. Your choice. She stood slowly, clutching the card. At the door, she paused. What about Mom and Dad? They'll get the same offer. Real work, real consequences. It's more than they gave me. After she left, Alexander came in. How did it go? I showed him the security feed of Amanda leaving the building, her shoulders slumped, her designer purse hanging limply at her side. Think she'll take the job? He asked. Doesn't matter, I replied. What matters is that for the first time in her life, she has to make her own choice. He pulled me close, kissing my temple. You're giving them more mercy than they deserve. Maybe, I smiled. But I'm not them. And that's the point. My phone buzzed. Another message from my mother. I deleted it without reading. They needed to learn that actions had consequences, that money couldn't fix everything. 3 months passed. Autumn turned to winter, and the scandal of the Sterling family's fall from grace had become old news. Well, mostly old news. People still whispered when my parents were spotted shopping at regular supermarkets instead of their usual high-end stores. Social media still buzzed when Amanda was seen working regular hours at the entry-level job she'd, surprisingly, accepted. I watched it all from a distance, neither interfering nor responding to their increasingly desperate attempts at contact. The latest came this morning, an invitation to our annual family gathering, traditionally held at the Sterling mansion, except they didn't own the mansion anymore. They're holding it at Aunt Patricia's house, I told Alexander, showing him the formal invitation that had been courier delivered to our office. Apparently, it's a family reconciliation dinner. He looked up from his laptop, concern crossing his features. Are you considering going? I traced the embossed lettering with my finger. The invitation was expensive, probably bought with a small allowance I'd authorized for basic living expenses after Amanda proved she could hold down her job for 2 months. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to see how they're really doing, beyond the reports we get. Those reports were interesting enough. Amanda had started in data entry at one of our smaller tech subsidiaries. According to her supervisor, after the initial shock of actually having to work, she'd shown surprising aptitude. She took public transport to work, brought packed lunches, and hadn't missed a single day. My father, on the other hand, had rejected the entry-level position we'd offered. His pride wouldn't let him work under others. Instead, he tried starting a new business, only to find that his former contacts wouldn't touch anything associated with the Sterling name. Mother had taken to drinking, according to our security reports. Her social circle had evaporated overnight, and she spent most days at home, watching old videos of charity galas and society events where she'd once been queen. If you go, Alexander said carefully, I'm coming with you. I smiled at his protectiveness. Actually, I have a better idea. The night of the family dinner arrived with a blanket of snow covering the city. Aunt Patricia's house, while comfortable, was a far cry from the Sterling mansion's grandeur. Cars were parked haphazardly along the street, no valets here. At exactly 7 p.m., the doorbell rang. I'll get it. Amanda's voice carried through the door. She opened it, expecting me, only to find a courier instead. Delivery for the Sterling family, he announced, holding a large package and an envelope. I watched through the security feed on my tablet as my family gathered in Aunt Patricia's living room to open the mysterious delivery. Alexander and I sat in our car across the street, heater running, waiting. Should we go in? He asked softly. Wait, I said, turning up the volume on the feed. Inside, my father opened the envelope first. His hands shook as he read the letter aloud. Dear family, you invited me to dinner, hoping for reconciliation. But reconciliation requires understanding, and I don't think you understand yet. In this package, you'll find documents detailing every cruel word, every manipulation, every moment you chose power over love. Security footage from the gala, screenshots of social media posts declaring me dead, bank statements showing how you cut me off. But you'll also find something else. Proof that despite everything, I haven't forgotten we're family. Amanda's work reports showing her growth. The trust funds I've secretly set up for the younger cousin's education. The monthly allowance I approved to keep you from true poverty. I've had the power to destroy you completely. Instead, I chose to give you a chance to rebuild, not as Sterlings, but as people. You want reconciliation? Show me who you are without the money, without the power, without the Sterling name to hide behind. Show me you've learned what family really means. Until then, Mary. Emma. Silence fell in the room. Through the camera, I watched my mother sink into a chair, hands covering her face. Amanda stood by the window, and for a moment, her eyes seemed to find our car in the darkness. There's more, my father said, his voice rough as he pulled documents from the package. They were transfer papers, small ownership stakes in Phoenix Global subsidiaries, placed in trust. Not enough to give them control, but enough to provide stability if they proved they could handle it. Look at the conditions, Amanda said, reading over their father's shoulder. We have to maintain regular employment for at least 2 years. No access to principal funds for 5 years. Mandatory financial counseling. She's teaching us. Aunt Patricia spoke up suddenly. Like we should have taught her. More silence. Then, surprisingly, Amanda walked to the window and opened it. The cold air carried her voice to where Alexander and I sat watching. "We know you're out there, Emma," she called. "We understand now, or we're trying to. Thank you for the chance to prove it." I felt tears sting my eyes. Alexander squeezed my hand. "Ready to go home?" he asked gently. I nodded, starting the car. But as we pulled away, I saw my family through the window, gathered together. Not in a mansion, but in a modest home, reading my letter, perhaps truly seeing themselves for the first time. Next backslash, I told Alexander as we drove home, if they prove they've really changed, maybe we'll actually attend. He smiled. And if they haven't, then we've lost nothing except the illusion that money and power make a family. As we entered our penthouse, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "The job's teaching me more than business school ever did. Thank you for not giving up on us completely. Mary backslash sis." I showed it to Alexander, who pulled me into a hug. "You're a better person than they deserve," he murmured into my hair. "No," I corrected him. "I'm just the person they helped create, for better or worse." Outside, snow continued to fall, covering both mansions and modest homes alike. In the end, we're all just people trying to learn what really matters. Sometimes it takes losing everything to figure that out. 1 year later, I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting my dress while Alexander waited patiently by the door. Tonight was different. Tonight, we were actually attending the Sterling family dinner. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, watching me fidget with my jewelry. I met his eyes in the reflection. They've earned it. And they had. Over the past year, I'd watched my family transform from a distance, not into who they used to be, but into something new. Something real. Amanda had earned 3 promotions at work, rising through actual merit rather than family connections. She'd moved into a small apartment, learned to cook, and even started mentoring new employees. Last month, she'd sent me a photo of her first self-earned bonus check. It was modest by our old standards, but her pride was genuine. Dad had finally swallowed his pride and accepted a consulting position at one of our smaller firms. He wasn't in charge anymore, but his experience proved valuable when he actually focused on the work instead of the status. He even started teaching business classes at the local community college. Mom had gone to rehab, 6 months sober now. She volunteered at a women's shelter, using her event planning skills to help raise funds for actual causes instead of social status. The drinking glasses had been replaced by coffee cups, the society gossip by genuine conversations. The dinner was at Amanda's apartment this year. No mansion, no catering, no pretense. As we pulled up to her building, Alexander squeezed my hand. "Remember, we can leave anytime." But when Amanda opened the door, something was different. Her smile wasn't practiced or perfect, it was nervous. Real. She wore a simple sweater instead of designer clothes, and the apartment smelled of home cooking rather than catered food. "I made Mom's lasagna recipe," she said, leading us in. Though I probably messed it up. The small living room was crowded with family. Mom rushed to hug me but stopped short, respecting my space. "Emma, honey, thank you for coming." Dad stood awkwardly by the tree, a modest one decorated with handmade ornaments rather than expensive baubles. "The place looks nice, Amanda," he said, and I realized he was actually seeing his daughter's achievements instead of measuring them. Dinner wasn't served on fine china. The conversation wasn't about stocks or status. Instead, Amanda talked about her work challenges, Dad shared funny stories from his teaching, and Mom showed pictures of the shelter's renovation project. During dessert, a slightly burnt but lovingly made apple pie, Amanda clinked her glass. "I want to say something," she started, her voice shaking slightly. "Last Christmas, Emma showed us who we really were. It wasn't pretty, but she also showed us who we could be if we tried." She turned to me. "Sis, I'll never be able to undo what we did to you, but thank you for giving us the chance to become better people." Mom wiped away tears, real ones this time. Dad cleared his throat gruffly. "We don't deserve you, Emma, but we're learning to deserve your faith in us." I felt Alexander's hand on my back, supporting me as always. "You're right," I said. "You didn't deserve me then. But now you're becoming the family I always wished we were." Later that night, as we drove home, Alexander asked, "Was it what you hoped for?" I thought about the imperfect dinner, the genuine conversations, the way they'd listened more than they'd talked. "It was better," I replied. "It was real." My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Thank you for coming. Same time next year. Love you, sis." I smiled, typing back, "Same time next year. Love you too." Sometimes the happiest endings aren't about getting everything you wanted, but about discovering what you really needed all along. My family had lost their fortune, their status, their power. But in losing it all, they'd found something more valuable, their humanity. And me? I found peace in watching them learn the lesson I'd known all along. True worth isn't in what you have, but in who you choose to be. Alexander pulled me close as we entered our penthouse. "Proud of you," he whispered. I looked up at him, at the life we'd built, at the strength we'd found together. "Proud of us all," I replied. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the city in a clean, white blanket. Sometimes the best new beginnings come after the hardest endings. And sometimes, just sometimes, family can surprise you in the most beautiful ways.